Welcome back to another Top 10s Day Wednesday video. Today we begin a two-part series by discussing 10 of MTG Burgeoning's top 20 favorite cards from Kaldheim. With the release of Kaldheim comes the release of hundreds of new cards to the Magic community. These cards will be played in various formats and kitchen tables across the globe. In this video, I am going to share 10 of my favorite cards from this new set. This is not a most powerful list of cards. Simply put, these are the cards I am most excited about and the reasons why I'm excited. As stated, this is part one of a two-part series because, well, it's Top 10s Day Wednesday, not Top 20s Day Wednesday, so let's begin. Number 10 on this list is Poison the Cup. This is another in a long line of instant speed destroy creature spells for which black is well known. Through a gatherer search, choosing black instant spells with the text destroy target creature produced over 100 results. However, very few of these instant speed destroy creature spells come without restrictions. Limitations such as creature color, converted mana cost, and power toughness specificities can be drawbacks. Of these over 100 black instant spells, there are only 4 spells with a converted mana cost less than 4 without any restrictions. These are Hero's Downfall, Murder, Mythos of Nethroi, and Swift End. At worst, Poison the Cup is another version of Murder. However, if a player casts this spell for its foretell cost, 2 colorless mana, and then 1 in a black when they're ready to destroy a creature, then that player gets to scry 2 for their efforts. Early game investments into these removal spells can net great returns in the mid to late game. Poison the Cup is a removal spell I plan to incorporate into many of my decks in the future. Number 9 on this list is Avalanche Collar. This human wizard snow creature is going to be a finisher in my Teamer Snow deck. Well, the lands are going to be doing the heavy lifting, but Avalanche Collar will be pointing them in the right direction. As a 1/3, he's not going to win many combat phases. However, for the investment of 2 colorless mana, he won't have to. Upon activation, Avalanche Collar can make target snow land you control a 4/4 elemental creature with hexproof and haste until the end of turn. It's still a land. This provides a mid to late game mana sink and allows snowlands to attack. Who doesn't want to attack with a snowland? The effect only lasts until the end of turn, so players don't have to worry about sorcery speed removal and losing their lands. Additionally, the lands have hexproof until the end of turn, so targeted removal spells can't be used on them. Even spells with destroy non-land permanents and return non-land permanents will not be effective against these snowy elemental creature lands. We can't say the same about Avalanche Collar, as he is only a 1/3 with no protection. He is still worthy of a spot in MTG Burgeoning's Teamer Snow kitchen table deck, as well as a spot on this list. Number 8 on this list is Toralf, God of Fury. A part of a cycle of gods in Kaldheim, Toralf, God of Fury has a very unique and powerful ability. Whenever a creature or a planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess non-combat damage, Toralf deals damage equal to the excess to any other target other than that permanent. There's a lot of laundry to fold here. Let's begin with excess non-combat damage. There are a lot of powerful red spells that typically deal excess non-combat damage, like Star of Extinction, Blasphemous Act, Chain Reaction, Inferno, Starstorm, and Chandra's Ignition. With Toralf on the battlefield, suddenly this excess non-combat damage becomes direct damage to Toralf's opponents, most likely ending the game in the absence of any interaction with Toralf by his opponents. Additionally, this card can be cast as a legendary equipment called Toralf's Hammer for 1 in a red. When equipped to a legendary creature, it gets +3/+0. When equipped to any creature, that creature has tap 1 in a red, tap, unattached Tolraph's hammer, it deals 3 damage to any target and then return it to its owner's hand. This allows the owner to decide which side to cast again. A full playset of Tolraph, God of Fury, will find its way into MTG Burgeoning's Can You Feel the Burn kitchen table deck. Number 7 on this list is Feed the Serpent. 2 life. Seriously, 2 life? Does 2 life make such a drastic difference among rarities? Ixalan released in September of 2017, and in it was an original card named Vraska's Contempt. This card peaked at nearly $20 during its time in Standard. What does Vraska's Contempt do? Oh, I'm so glad I asked. Vraska's Contempt is a black instant for 2 and 2 black that exiles target creature or planeswalker, and its caster then gains 2 life. It is also a rare. What does Feed the Serpent do? Feed the Serpent is a black instant for 2 and 2 black that exiles target creature or planeswalker. There is no life gain. It is a common. Am I supposed to convince myself that 2 life is the difference between a rare and a common? Currently, Vraska's Contempt is nearly $2, while Feed the Serpent is hovering around 25 cents. Is 2 life such a selling point? This was nearly a $20 card. It's 2 life. Well, I plan to include Feed the Serpent in a lot of my decks and will do so happily without gaining 2 life. 2 life! Number 6 on this list is Goldspam Dragon. Dragons and treasure. Are we ready for another Hobbit adventure? Let's talk about what this dragon can do for you. It's a 4/4 flyer with haste for 3 and 2 red. Those stats alone are impressive. However, this card gets interesting as we wander down from its evergreen mechanics and focus on its other text. Whenever Goldspam Dragon attacks or becomes the target of a spell, create a treasure token. If we stop right here, technically we can shave 1 mana from its converted mana cost, particularly because it has haste. We tap 3 and 2 red, it attacks, we create a treasure token, and recoup a mana, reducing its CMC from 5 to 4. A 4/4 flyer with haste for 4 is strong. Oh, but we're not done yet. Treasures we control have tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 2 mana of any 1 color. Now, if all goes according to plan, Goldspam Dragon returns 2 mana from its initial investment of 5. A 4/4 flyer with haste for 3 is ridiculous. As a lover of dragons, I have plans for Goldie. However, I do not plan to add it to my Scion of the Dragon EDH deck. Instead, I plan to add it to my Feather the Redeemed EDH deck. With Goldspam Dragon and Feather in play at the same time, imagine the ramp. Imagine it. Cast a cheap cantrip spell, target Goldie, create a treasure that can add 2 mana of any 1 color in a Boros deck, exile the cantrip spell due to Feather's ability, return it to hand at end of turn, rinse, lather, repeat, and lose all metagame friends. Number 5 on this list is Burning Rune Demon. Black is popular for its tutoring and recursion effects, and Burning Rune Demon contributes to these archetypes in spades. It's a 6/6 flyer for 4 and 2 black, which is symbolic of most demons. When it enters the battlefield, its controller may search their library for exactly 2 cards not named Burning Rune Demon that have different names. Commander. If that player does, they reveal those cards, and then an opponent chooses one of them. The player puts that card into their hand and the other into their graveyard. The opponent can't win in this situation. With planning, whichever card is put into the graveyard will eventually be recurred by the player. There is also a layer of politicking that can be applied to the selection process. For the purposes of value, Burning Rune Demon is a 6/6 flyer for 4 and 2 black that tutors for 2 cards with different names. Any 2 cards, as long as they have different names. This is better than Rune Scarred Demon. It's cheaper and it gets 2 cards. Burning Rune Demon will find places in many of my commander decks, including Golos Tireless Pilgrim, Yarok the Desecrated, Lord Windgrace, and Kalia of the Vast. Number 4 on this list is the Sacklands. These lands offer various unique sacrifice abilities. 6 out of these 10 lands' abilities only can be activated anytime a player could cast a sorcery. The converted mana costs of these activations range from 3 to 6, and each requires at least 2 different colors of mana. The effects of these lands mimic popular 2-color or guild archetypes. Gates of Istfell allows its controller to gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. Port of Karfell mills its controller 4 cards, and then they can return a creature card from their graveyard to the battlefield. Immerstrom Skullcrane deals 3 damage to target player, and they discard a card. Notvold Slumber Mound creates a 4/4 creature token with trample. Bredegard Stronghold puts a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures they control, gaining vigilance and lifelink until the end of turn. Great Hall of Starnheim creates a 4/4 creature token with flying and vigilance. Axguard Armory tutors for an aura and/or an equipment card. Surtland Frostspire deals 2 damage to each creature. Litjara Mirror Lake creates a token of target creature that player controls and adds a +1/+1 counter to it. Lastly, Skemfar Elderhall creates 2 1/1 Elf Warrior creature tokens and gives up to 1 target creature that player doesn't control -2/2 until the end of turn. Axguard Armory and Port of Karfell are my early favorites. Although these lands enter the battlefield tapped and produce only 1 color of mana, their sacrifice effects make them valuable enough to warrant consideration for inclusion into a lot of decks, particularly in the EDH format. Number 3 on this list is Rally the Ranks. This is nearly a duplicate of a card named Shared Triumph, which released nearly 20 years ago in Onslaught. As a fan of building tribal decks, any Anthem effects always are considered for possible inclusion in order to strengthen the team and push through for lethal damage during combat. This enchantment for 1 and a white has a selective Anthem effect, as it does not boost the power and toughness of all creatures a player controls. Instead, when it enters the battlefield, its controller names a creature type, and creatures of the chosen type that player controls gets +1/+1. There is a difference, as Shared Triumph gives the Anthem effect to all creatures of the chosen type, even if they are controlled by that player's opponents. Rally the Ranks is a better version of Shared Triumph and joins other cards such as Bad Moon, Call to Arms, Crusade, Favorable Winds, Honor of the Pure, Intangible Virtue, and Sunken City as non-aura enchantment anthems with a converted mana cost of 2. As many of these aforementioned anthems come with restrictions and limitations, Rally the Ranks may prove to be the best 2-mana tribal anthem effect in all of Magic. Number 2 on this list is Turgrid, God of Fright. The applications of this card, both front and back, are extremely powerful. Upon first glimpse of this card, I thought to myself, that'll be a good card to add to my Megrim Liliana's Caress kitchen table deck. This deck focuses on forcing opponents to discard cards, as well as bouncing permanents from the battlefield to their hands, and forcing additional discard through the use of an enchantment called Warp Devotion. This card forces a player to discard a card whenever a permanent card is returned to their hand. Then I thought to myself, the back half of that card would be a good card to add to my Liliana deck. This is a deck that creates oodles of black mana through the use of Cryptghast, Nirkana Revenant, and Liliana of the Dark Realms. Then I moved on to the next card in the spoiler queue. However, after thinking more and more about this card, it may be ranked way too low in this series. Now, this has nothing to do with the kitchen table either. In a mono-black EDH deck with Turgrid, God of Fright as its commander, both of these concepts could be combined into the same deck, and that is frightening. I expect Turgrid to jettison to the top of the list of most played black commanders very, very quickly. And lastly, number 1 on this list is Serif, Realm Eater. When this card was spoiled during preview season, it reminded me of an old enchantment from Apocalypse called Pernicious Deed, which came out around 20 years ago. For 1 black and a green, this enchantment allows its controller to pay X, sacrifice Pernicious Deed, and destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with converted mana cost X or less. Serif, Realm Eater, has shades of this enchantment. For the same mana cost, its controller gets a 3/3 legendary wolf, so yes, Serif could be your commander. Whenever a permanent an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Serif. At the beginning of their upkeep, Serif's controller may remove all +1/+1 counters from it, if there are any, and then exile each other non-land permanent with converted mana costs less than or equal to the number of +1/+1 counters removed this way. Serif Realm Eater can act as a repeatable board exiler as long as it has +1/+1 counters on it. What are some of Golgari's strengths? Destroying permanents and putting +1/+1 counters on creatures, both of which feed Serif the fuel it needs to devour the world. Serif only has a converted mana cost of 3 and is in the 2 colors with the greatest amount of mana ramp in the game, black and green. I sense that Serif Realm Eater is going to become a force to be reckoned with at the EDH Commander tables for many, many moons. That'll do it for this top 10 list. Which cards from Kaldheim are your favorites? Let me know in the comments section below, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons on the way out. This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic.